Hey, you there. You looking to play some Mario games? Why don't you come over here and let me show you the good stuff, but if anyone comes asking, you don't know me, cause what I'm gonna be showing in this video, not exactly the kind of stuff you'd find in your local Nintendo store, if you know what I mean. Not that I'd ever encourage piracy, of course, but a lot of these projects do require you to have ROMs or ISOs, and where you get those is none of my business. But before we get into things, I want to quickly mention this spreadsheet that I put together that will have links to everything I'm talking about in this video, as well as much more. I originally created this document to compile Sonic mods and enhancements, of which you can see there's a lot, but I'm now expanding it into other franchises, beginning with Mario, and I'll keep adding more stuff to it over time. There's already a couple other things on there. I do my best to keep this updated, so please do go check that out. There's a link to it in the description, and I encourage you to share this around. I want this to be as useful a resource as it can be for as many people as possible. Anyway, now getting into the games, of course, we must begin with the original Super Mario Bros. And already we're talking about one of the coolest projects here, and one of the most recent at the time of making this video. What we got here is Super Mario Bros. Remastered, though don't let that name fool you, this is actually a ground-up remake of the game made in Godot, or Godot, or however you pronounce that game engine. And this is the definitive way to play Super Mario Bros. It is nearly perfect. It is a very authentic recreation of the game, but with so many options and ways to enhance the experience. You can play in widescreen, it has extra playable characters like Luigi, Toad, and Toadette. You can rebalance things a little bit, bring in some of the features from the later Marios, you can give yourself infinite lives. You can do a lot, or if you want, you can turn everything off and get a very authentic experience. Though it's not one-to-one identical to the original game, there are some things here that just are different, like the physics, for example. It's not quite one-to-one to the original, but in my opinion, as someone that loves Mario 1, I actually think the physics and controls here are quite a bit better. And another thing is they have reskinned some of the levels in the game just to give you a little bit more variety. They bring in some of the level themes from Super Mario Maker, which I really like, but you know, some purists out there might have a problem with it. And yes, Lost Levels is included here in its entirety, which is fantastic, but even more crazy is it includes Super Mario Bros. Special, which you probably don't even know what it is. I didn't know what it was until not too long ago. Mario Special was a game made for PCs back in the day by Hudson, and it was really terrible because it had all these horrible technical limitations, but now the levels from that game have been brought into the proper Mario gameplay engine and really fixed up. Personally, I don't really think Special is anything that amazing, but it does have some unique, cool stuff in there, like some enemies from Mario Bros, so it's kinda cool. It's a fun little thing to check out and play. Remaster also includes this thing called All Night Nippon, which is some, like, old Japanese radio show that did, like, a cross-promotion thing with Mario and had, like, a special version of it. I don't exactly know the details, but in Remastered, this has been turned into, like, a fancy score attack, kind of similar to Pizza Tower, where you can build up a combo by killing enemies and getting power-ups, and collecting coins will maintain your combo. And it's even got a ranking system, and you can even aim for those P ranks if you're into that kind of thing. Not really something that I like too much, but hey, it's cool. And this also includes some extra features from Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, the Game Boy Color version of the game. It has You vs. Boo, which is like a race mode that has completely altered level design. And it has this, like, collect-a-thon mode where you go into levels and have to get all these red coins. Plus, in addition to all that, this comes with a fantastic built-in speedrun mode where it tracks your time across the entire game. And you can also play individual levels where it now has bronze, silver, and gold medal times to aim for, and it records your ghosts for you to race against. So friggin' amazing, dude. This project is nuts. As someone who Mario 1 is actually my favorite of the 2D Marios, getting to see this kind of love and care put into it, you know, the kind of thing that Nintendo is never gonna do, it warms my heart. It's amazing. By the way, this game also does have a level editor and support for custom textures and custom characters, so even more cool stuff to check out. Now, there's not really anything for Super Mario Bros. 2 as far as I'm aware after looking around for a while, but Super Mario Bros. 3 does have something, though this is definitely much more subjective. I personally like to play Speedrunners Edition, which is a ROM hack for the game that all it does is remove all the auto-scrollers from it. Because personally, I can't stand auto-scrollers, they take way too long, they're way too slow, way too boring. And this game has a lot of them, and it really harms the pacing in my opinion, and this ROM hack fixes that, so if you feel similarly to me, it's something worth checking out. Now, Super Mario World is another cool one, because this, just like Super Mario Bros., has its own remastered PC remake, actually made by the same devs as Super Mario Bros. Remastered. It's kind of weird, like, that game got a ton of attention when it came out, but they actually did world first, but it seemingly, like, completely flew under the radar and, like, no one was talking about it. And I don't really know why, because it's also really good. It's not quite as robust or feature-rich as Super Mario Bros. Remastered, because it's what they did first, but it's still an excellent way to play the game, and it does still have a lot of options to change it up, even some that aren't in Super Mario Bros. Remastered. For example, you can give yourself moves from the later Mario games, like wall jumping and stuff, and it also lets you pick which sprites you want to use for a lot of the objects in the game, whether you want to go with the original or the redone ones from Super Mario Maker. It also supports 4-player co-op, which is real neat. And of course, you know, it includes all of the same kinds of features you'd expect, widescreen, all that good stuff. Also, this game really zooms out the camera quite a bit, which I really like, gives you a lot more visibility and makes the game more playable. So even if it's not as refined as Mario 1 Remastered, this is still easily the definitive version of this game in my opinion. And hey, it also includes a remake of Super Mario 1 in the World Engine if you want to play that. Next up, I want to quickly talk about something that's arguably maybe not mainline, but whatever, who cares. The Super Mario Land games, like many Game Boy games, have ROM hacks that turn them into Game Boy Color games, which obviously makes for a better experience. And they also had Luigi as a playable character, complete with his own custom physics, so that's neat. And yes, you are seeing a lot of Luigi in this footage here. What can I say? I rather play as Green Mario than Red Mario. When it comes to the new Super Mario Bros. Games, there's not really anything to talk about. These don't have any cool, like, fan-enhanced versions, and they've never even really gotten re-releases for DS, Wii, or 3DS. But I do want to talk about something briefly for U, because that, of course, did get the deluxe re-release on Switch. And I just want to throw a word of warning out there for people playing the Switch version, because they decided to make the controls really bad in this version of the game. Because you know that, like, twirl thing you can do? You hit the shoulder button and you get a little bit of airtime and extra distance on your jumps? Well, for some reason with Deluxe, they decided to also put that twirl on jump in the air, which can really screw you up when you're trying to bounce off of an enemy and get some extra height. You know, you hit jump right before you bounce off of them, but that can sometimes make you twirl and then you miss the enemy, and it can even lead to your death sometimes. And you're like, why did you do this? Thankfully, there is a way to disable this, but even more bafflingly than implementing it in the first place, it's a secret. You have to go to the title screen and click the left stick for 3 seconds, and then while you're still holding that, hit L and R, and you'll hear Nabbit do a little laugh, and that tells you that you have successfully disabled that feature, so you can get proper controls again. Why is that not just something in the settings? I don't know, but now you know about it if you're gonna play that version of the game. Anyway, Wonder, not much to say there. It's just Wonder. I guess play the Switch 2 version if you got it. But moving on to the 3D games now, Mario 64 has one of the other coolest projects here. Now, there are a lot of ways to play Mario 64 with ROM hacks, and, like, the PC port has the online multiplayer nonsense you can do, and that's all very cool. But when it comes to just the core Mario 64 experience, but enhanced, I recommend checking out Super Mario 64 Plus. This is built off of the decompilation, the PC port of Mario 64, but comes with lots of great features that you can turn on to enhance the experience. For example, you can give it a modern right-stick manual camera, you can tighten up the controls a little bit, make it a little more responsive, you can increase the draw distance on things, you can change how certain moves work, like the wall jump, you can get like the slide from the later games to make it easier to use. But by far the most important thing that you can do is you can make it so you no longer get booted out of the level when you collect a star, which really improves the flow of the game, not having to go in and out all the time. Now it kind of feels a little bit more like Banjo-Kazooie, where you just drop in the sandbox and go around collecting all this stuff. It's really, really fun. And for those looking to check out the DS version of Mario 64, you might know that that game has notoriously bad controls, because you have to play it with a D-pad. Well, there is a project out there that allows you to play it with proper analog control, which makes it much, much more playable, so definitely worth checking out if you want to do that version of the game. Now we get to one of the more divisive games, of course, Super Mario Sunshine, but whether you're not really a fan of Sunshine or you love it, I would recommend trying Super Mario Sunburn. This is a really big mod for the game that does a lot to improve it and fix a number of its problems. One of the biggest things that it does is it allows you to change the structure of Sunshine away from completing Mission 7 on every level, back to the Mario 64 good old collect 70 shine sprites, which really changes up how you approach the game, because now the blue coins actually matter for something beyond just 100%, and it means that if there are certain missions you don't want to do, you don't have to. And, similar to Mario 64 Plus, this also allows you to stay in the level after collecting a shine sprite, though it's not quite as intuitive, as Sunshine does alter the stages depending on what mission you load in, so you can't collect everything all in one go, but the game has fused many of the missions together so you can collect a lot of stuff in one go, and they've made it very simple to just reload the level and pick a different mission without having to go back to the hub and everything. Also, two really nice things they've done. They got rid of that stupid pop-up menu every time you get a blue coin, now the game just auto-saves. And they made it so you can skip the cutscenes of the game. Hallelujah. If you're a big fan of Sunshine, you know how big of a deal that is every time you start a new playthrough. So thank you very much to the devs. They've also added this kind of weird new feature where, you know how you can see the other levels in Sunshine from one? Well, now you can go directly from one level to the other by just, going toward it, and it will just load you into that one's mission select, which is kind of cool, but it can also, break the game's structure if you start to engage with that, but you can just not do that if you want. So that's all cool, but the real stuff that I personally love about Sunburn is how they overhaul and expand the movement of this game. Because if you're someone like me that loves Sunshine, you know this game has some of the coolest movement in any 3D Mario, with Odyssey being the only real competitor. Well, this now adds even more to the movement of Sunshine. For example, you know that big, shotgun blast you can do with the base nozzle? It now enables you to do that with the hover nozzle, giving you, a big crazy double jump that can, preserve your momentum, so if you got a lot of speed, then you can go really high and really far. They've also altered the physics of certain things, so the flip out from the slide now preserves your speed, so you can go really fast with it. They've also made it so you can spray in almost any situation, so for example, you can do a big spin jump dive and start spraying with the hover nozzle, and that will launch you even further and you'll build up a ton of speed. It's friggin' awesome, man. They've made this game even more fun to move around in than it already was. As for the rest of the 3D Marios, there's not really much to talk about for 3D Land or Odyssey, because those don't really have any fancy re-releases or big game-changing mods or anything. And with 3D World, obviously you just play the Switch version with Bowser's Fury. But I do want to talk about the Galaxy games, because of course at the time of making this video, the Galaxy Switch remasters just came out, and I will admit that those do look like really good versions of those games. But there is something about the Galaxy games that might steer me towards continuing to just play the Wii versions emulated on Dolphin. I guess when it comes to emulation, it's just worth talking about how you can play at higher resolutions and sometimes higher frame rates. You can get HD texture packs and things like that. So in a lot of cases with just old games, emulation is usually the best way to play it. And in the case of the Galaxy games, you can get them playing on just a normal controller by simulating waggle with just button presses, and you can put the pointer on the right stick. It's a little less elegant than controlling it with IR or whatever, but if you do have a gyro-supported controller, you can just one-to-one get that stuff working on emulation. So it's totally doable and a good way to play, and it's not like any of the stuff in the Switch versions of Galaxy are like that incredible. You know, the storybook stuff and the assist mode is nice, but not something that you need for that overall core experience. And what I personally find a little more valuable is the ability to fast forward, because you ever notice how much downtime there is in the Galaxy games? From like the moment you collect a star to the moment you're moving around in the next mission, it can be like 2 minutes, which I know doesn't sound like much, but think 2 minutes times 120 stars, that's 240 minutes. That's 4 hours of playtime of a 10-hour game where you're literally doing nothing. And the last time I played the Galaxy games, I did really feel that the pacing was getting messed up by that. But with emulation, you can fast forward that stuff and get back in the game more quickly, which I do think helps it quite a bit. So if you're gonna stick with the original versions of the games, that's something I would recommend if you're an impatient gamer like me. Anyway, there you go, the best version of every mainline Mario game, at least in my opinion. Once again, you can check out all this stuff in my spreadsheet linked in the description, and if there's anything cool that I've missed in this video or that's not on there, please let me know in the comments and I'll check it out and see if I can add it. And as I said before, I try to stay on top of this thing and keep it updated, so if any new stuff comes out, I will keep my eyes peeled and throw it on there as well. Hopefully the devs behind Super Mario Bros. And World Remastered are gonna do 3 next. Pretty please, fingers crossed. And I do have a section there for fan games, which at the moment I only have one thing for Mario, as I haven't really checked out too much stuff out there. But that as well, if you know any cool, like, big Mario, like, total conversion ROM hacks or mods or fan games or anything really cool, let me know about it, and I'll see if I can check it out and maybe put it on there. Thanks for watching. I might see about doing more of these kinds of things for other franchises. Definitely think I could do one for Zelda, and maybe a couple other things. But until then, go play yourself some Mario. Just watch out for those Nintendo ninjas.